Speaker, and they do not have money. They can take a loan from the board so that they can buy these houses and repay the board slowly throughout the years. Mr. Speaker, lastly, there was also the issue of land, which arose in most of the cases, that the land that these monies is going to be utilized on, most of them are public land, most of them are county land, and how then will the public benefit from those particular houses, Mr. Speaker? And we muled around it, and of course, we have a section in the Land Act that deals with the conversion of land, if you want, or especially the disposition of land from public land to private land, Mr. Speaker, and we all agreed that we will leave that issue of land to the National Land Commission to deal with it. Mr. Speaker, in general, I'm among us members who sat with the members of the public. I listened to them just like the other members of my committee. And Mr. Speaker, our country, our population, 80% of the population of this country are living in shanties, temporary homes, slums. Others are living on areas where you can't imagine, Mr. Speaker. It is prudent. It is high time. And so many governments, Mr. Speaker, have run away from this responsibility. No government has dared to take the bold step which the president has taken. I also want us as this House to take that bold step to ensure, and we have had so many expenditures in this country, Mr. Speaker. I particularly have been in this House for the last 10 years. I've seen budgets go, I've seen budgets being brought to this House. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the villages, there has been so many budgets done in this House, and you don't even see them, or anything that has been undertaken in the budgets which have been allocated here. Mr. Speaker, I personally felt that let us take this bold step, pass this bill, and wait for the results. And most of us who are sitting in the oversight committees, we will ensure that the projects which have been earmarked under this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, will be put into prudent use. There are so many of us who would say, what is the use? So many of us would also say, how assured are we that we are going to build houses? I've always also said, Mr. Speaker, the appropriation of any money is done in this House. The oversight of any money allocated to the executive is done by this House. It is our responsibility, Mr. Speaker. We cannot run away from our responsibility. Just because we are lazy, we cannot oversight those monies which have been allocated. So, Mr. Speaker, I this House. Our people need houses. Everywhere. We went to Nyanza, we went to Western, we went to Northeastern, we went to Coast, we went to Rift Valley. Everywhere, Mr. Speaker, people need houses. It is our responsibility as a House to ensure that we actualize Article 43B of that part of the Constitution. The question of how that money is going to be spent rests in this House. It rests especially on all of us, regardless of which political divide you come from. Because every money that has been appropriated here depends on us to ensure that it is utilized properly. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I wish to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ngeno. I now propose the question, which is that the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, be now read a second time. Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for having given me the first bite of the cherry. Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying that, of course, this bill is obviously a response or a reaction to the now very famous High Court ruling of November 2023. So we must thank our courts for having jolted the executive to do what they should have done at the first instance. But we must also take cognizance of the fact that even as we debate this bill, the matter is still live in court. It is still lying in the Court of Appeal, pending determination. That notwithstanding, let me make the following comments. That if you look at the bill, the introduction to the bill itself, it states categorically that this is an act, that a bill for an act of parliament to give effect to Article 43(1)(b) of the Constitution, to provide a framework for access to affordable housing and for connected purposes. The Speaker, from the outset, the question one would want to ask, and to ask repeatedly, how on earth is this bill, once, if it is passed and it becomes law, how is it going to contribute to the realization of the right under Article 43(1)(b) of the Constitution? Mr. Speaker, it might be important for me to just read Article 43(1)(b) for the benefit of members who may not have their Constitution with them, the copies of the Constitution with them. Mr. Speaker, at Article 43(1)(b), the Constitution requires or dictates that every person has the right to accessible and adequate housing. Every person has the right to accessible and adequate housing and to reasonable standards of sanitation. And if you want to understand clearly how this bill is not solving the problem, is not addressing the matter of the realization of the right under Article 43(1)(b), you simply go to the paragraph at page 21, 26 of the bill itself. The paragraph dealing
projecting to employ close to 2,000